Good morning, everyone. We'll probably give a couple more minutes while people still log in to join us. I spent some time last night adding you all to a Blackboard course, so I'll ask that as people still trickle in to access your Blackboard.
And do you want to give people the course ID? It may be sitting at the bottom of their long list of courses.
Not yet,
Okay.
because I made everyone an instructor, and so I want to make sure everyone's in here before people start playing around in a course. Give about like one more minute for people to join us. For those of you who have just joined us, please pull up your Blackboard. We'll be demoing directly in Blackboard today, and you should be able to kind of play along with us. All right, we'll go ahead and get started now. I think people might still be joining us over the next couple minutes, but we'll get started because what I would primarily like this workshop to do is give you time to actually use the tool in Blackboard with some hopefully helpful assistance as needed. So we recently, I'll stop and I'll introduce myself and my co-presenters. Apologies, it's been a whirlwind of a morning already. I'm Magdalene Moy. I'm an instructional technologist over in Tilt. I'm joined today by Andrew and Carmen, and I'll let them both introduce themselves.
And I'm Andrew Feldstein, Assistant Provost, Teaching Innovation and Learning Technologies.
I'm Carmen Porter, and I'm Chair in the Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders.
So recently, Blackboard rolled out this AI design assistant. And it became available for everyone this spring if you were in Ultra. So that's one major caveat of all of this, is that you have to be in an Ultra course to have access to this particular tool. So number one, must be an Ultra, which we're trying to move everyone into anyway. So hopefully this is a good incentive for you all. So we did an AI pilot to basically release it to some people, demo for a small group of individuals, what it can do, what are the different tools available in this design assistant, and then get some feedback from them. So Carmen was one of our AI pilot guinea pigs. And so she'll be sharing a little bit of her experience with some of the tools, and I'll be sharing some very interesting quotes from some other people that I did some follow-up interview, one-on-one interviews with. So just as kind of a overall question bank for our people who did the AI pilot, we were trying to see what tools they used within the AI design assistant. What was it good for? What was not so good about it? And then very specifically, how did this help you in your role as a faculty member, right? So my big question for them, and we'll get into this a little bit more, is did this save you time, right? So as you start designing your course for the next semester, how was this beneficial or not beneficial for you? And then I'll say this now that Blackboard has promised some additional tools to be developed that have not been out, but have been advertised on their end. So we'll talk about that a little bit towards the end. So there are 5 different tools, and I'll put them in our chat just so you can kind of have a reference for them, but 5 different tools within the AI design assistant. The first one is auto-generated modules. Second one is the ability to create assessment questions. Third is assignment creation, which actually works a lot like the test question creation, but I'll let you play with that a little bit more. And then it has an AI image generator, and it has a rubric creator. So like I said earlier, hopefully you are all in Blackboard. I'm going to share a link in the chat right now, and it should take you directly to this course. You're all instructors in this course. If you didn't hear me before, try not to destroy anything in this course. You do have full access as an instructor. But one of the key features of this, I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen, is that you'll notice that it has this ultra AI exploration community at the top. So ideally, as you play with this tool, either now or going forward, you can share with our larger community what you're using the tool for, whether or not it's good, whether or not you find it beneficial. So you have, like I said, full access to this course. All right. Before I move on, can I just get some thumbs up of the audience? And I'd like to know whether or not you've accessed this course, and if anyone does not have access yet. So like if you joined today, then I may have not have added you. Okay, getting some thumbs. All right. Well, that's not good, Carmen. I will. Okay. So if you are not getting access, please put your FHSU ID. So it would be whatever comes before the at fhsu.edu, and I'll add you to our roster. So if you want to just give me your FHSU ID in the chat, I'll add you over into this course. Okay, let me find you, Brooke, and I will update your status. Yep. All right. So there's definitely some of you in here probably enrolled originally. Mm. All right. I will check this again, but I'll go ahead and I'll get you in, Linda. And then I'll move us along. You can also walk along with us in any of the other courses. Like I said, it will have to be a ultra course. All right. See if you're already in here. All right, I will return to this in a little bit, probably when I've demoed a little bit so that you can start to play. All right, I'll come back. All right, so like I said, you have to be in an ultra course. One of the first things that we're going to kind of walk through is this ability to create modules. So if you click in your ultra course at the plus button, you can see that there's now a kind of like 2 stars auto-generate modules. That 2 stars is the Blackboard Design Assistant, and you'll see that across all these different tools that we're going to talk to you about today. So one of the very important feedback that I got from Justin Greenleaf was that it was useful to create these modules because it's going to make the modules based off of the name. So you can see that it's giving automatically off the bat some suggestions for module names and kind of breaking them out. This is only based off of your course name, right? So if your course name was Intro to Sociology, then it'll start to do some topics based on that. Better for you would be to give an actual description of your course. And one of the things that I found to be most useful is to tell it exactly what I want in each of those modules. So you'll see that you can give it a title prefix if you want to do like week, chapter, module as a drop down to each of those module breakdowns. You can ask it to include images or not, and you can decide on complexity. I haven't seen a lot of difference between the different complexity. Like, I'm not really sure how the scale actually works out, other than to say that I tend to use a higher complexity since we're in a university. So I tend to put it around like 3/4 or something like that, but feel free to play with that. The other thing that you can modify is how many modules you want it to start with. So one of the best feedback that I got was that if you don't know what you want, it's not going to help you as much as it should, right? So you should, and probably you're not designing a course from scratch. You probably already have a course that you know, I have X amount of modules, I have these topics that I want to cover, right? So maybe you do per week, right? 16 modules in a 16-week course. And then you might say, you know, I wanted to have that week title prefix. And then I'd probably say, I'd suggest to you that the more information you put in this description box, the better modules it's going to give back to you. So I'd probably say, this is a 16-week course that goes from an overview of AI to very complex modeling, let's say.
Magdalene?
Yes.
I would also suggest, because I found this to be, if you have a syllabus for your course, basically copy and paste your course description in, copy and paste your course objectives in, and then you're going to get some really very specific modules. And if you, as you're putting here 16 weeks, you then go down, tell it how many modules you want to have. And if that's 16, that's great. If you want to do it in 8 modules, you can just click that slider down and do it in 8 modules. But the more information that you give it, the more useful the modules it creates will be. I mean, if you just want to play, and I know people have these, I want to make a course on French fries. And it will create a course on French fries. Probably there'll be a week on deep frying or slicing potatoes or whatever it is, which will be fun. But this can be a really, really powerful tool, because as you can see here on the right, it will give you, it'll create the module. It will give you a potential image that can be associated with that, as well as a description of it, all of which you can change at will, but it gives you a great start on putting together a 16-week course.
Yeah, so after you put in your description, you decide if you want to prefix or not your complexity and your learning modules, you just hit generate. It's going to generate some modules based off of your description there. One of the feedback that I got was, I got really nervous that it was trying to create me content. It is not doing that. I'd actually would prefer if it was actually going to give me more content than that. What it does, it's only giving you a module title, and a little description and images if that's what you said that you wanted. So you can see that it's giving me the amount of weeks that I asked for, a little description, and then an image to go along with each of those. If I like all of these modules, then I would just click on them. And I'm not going to click on all of them. And then I just add them to the course, and it'll pull it directly into the course. So you can now see that they are here, and that's it. It's not a in-depth content creator. It's just making you modules. Any questions so far on module creation? Okay. So like I said, one of my big questions, and I'll bring this up through each of the tools that we demoed today, was whether or not this saves you time. And the feedback that I got for this was, no, it did not save me time, but it did give me ideas for things that I maybe hadn't included in my course yet. So I'll put that there. Also, it kind of takes you down a pretty interesting rabbit hole if you start doing image generator, because it's not quite what I would say that that's probably its weakest tool. So we'll do that one next. So let's say that for this intro to artificial intelligence, you didn't like that image. If you clicked on the 3 dots and went to the edit, you have this image here. And I can change this image. So it'll ask you if you want to insert an image, upload from a device, use a stock image, or generate images. And it's, again, just basing that image generation off of the description for this module. So I'm not a huge fan of it. The people that I talked to weren't a great fan of it either, but you could change it to like just AI in general and see what it can generate for you. It's one of the tools available. I assume it's something that they'll be working on. But currently I find that the images to be a little abstract, very bright you might really like bright colors, but I'll just pick the creepiest one. And then you hit next, you can resize it, and then it'll pull it into your course once you save it. So image generation is one of the other potential tools that you can use it for. I like the stock images more, but that's available to you as well. Any questions on image generators? So we've done so far of the 5 tools, auto-generate modules, and then your image generator. Everyone good so far? Just check chat real quick. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna just kind of turn it over to Carmen to talk about her experience using the test question generator.
Okay. So I am thinking maybe the easiest way for me to do this is I will go ahead and share my screen for a moment, and I will just share in my class kind of how I used it a little bit. And because it was very much for me, um, I just started out experimenting. Um, I I was putting together a class that I had taught before, but it had been a while. And so I was getting in there trying to refresh myself on some things. And I honestly when I started kind of getting into it, I really didn't even know for sure what I could do with AI. So I just started playing around. And I actually started playing around with the syllabus first. One of the things that I like to do, and I think this was something that AI was actually pretty good at, but I like to, and let me see, is this, make sure, are you seeing are you seeing my screen with Blackboard? So I'm in a language disorders course. I teach later language disorders, and I like to make a syllabus quiz for my students. They're graduate students, they know how to read a syllabus, but I find that sometimes those basic little things are good for reminding them that even if you've been in school for, 2, 3, 6 years, you should read the syllabus. But it takes time to go through and write a syllabus quiz. And so when I was putting this together, I put my syllabus into Ultra, and I'm using Ultra for the first time teaching a class too. So I was learning Ultra, and I realized that, oh, I have my syllabus in here. I can click on this auto generate question bank. I wonder what will happen. I mean, that was quite literally how I came about deciding to do this was, let me click a button and see what happens. And it actually, with a syllabus, it worked pretty well. I can go ahead and click on here and we'll see, it'll show kind of what comes up. I'm curious, I'll have to compare and see if it comes up with the same questions it came up with the first time or if it comes up with some different questions. But right away, it just goes off to putting some of these questions together with not a lot of direction here. So you've got a variety of, matching and short answer. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. And I would say that this happened every single time that I use this. I usually would come over here and I would get a little more specific. Like, okay, this is just a syllabus quiz. I just want 5 factual questions or 10 factual questions. And so I came in here and I added that, I added the number, and I kind of mess with the complexity, and then I hit generate again. Ultimately, what I found in terms of time was for straightforward things, this absolutely saved me time. So something with this, like a syllabus where I just wanted some factual, like what is some information that like they can read the syllabus and they should be able to know, what is a primary focus in this course and what are and yeah, some of these included some other things. So I'm going to have to go in. My first one was better. I can see that right now, that the first one I created before I added more material to the course came up with a better list of questions from the syllabus. It had some things like, what time can you attend the tutoring, the on-campus tutoring center for the department? And when like At what point is an assignment, can an assignment no longer be turned in for credit? Like it had some more specific things. So these questions, this is actually an example where some of the questions they gave me, it looks like they've gone outside of my syllabus. And so I'd need to brainstorm this a little bit. But if I cancel out of here, I can go back to my original set of questions. Cancel, discard and close. And they stay in the question bank if you save them. And so I was able to, this was what I generated a while back when I first put it in. And this actually, sorry, this actually isn't the syllabus one either. I might have to go back and this is one of the quizzes. So essentially what I found was that for some straightforward things where they had a document they could pull from, it was reasonably easy and they came up with some good ones. It looks like I didn't save the syllabus ones. These are all quizzes I generated. So that worked really well. For more complicated things, I had to go through and I did. I had to spend time. I had to read the questions. So this came from a reading that I put in and it generated a variety of questions. And I essentially what I did is I went through and I said, you know what, I like this question. I'm going to edit this question. Don't like this question, not going to use it. So it gave me a starting point, and that was helpful because usually what I do have to do is I have to, if it's a new book, I have to read the chapter, I have to go through and okay, make a multiple choice question, make a true false question. With this, it would at least come up with some ideas and I could then go through and say, I almost never used the questions exactly as they are. I think only for the syllabus quiz did I actually have one or two questions that I'm like, oh yeah, that's perfect. But what I did find was it gave me ideas. It kind of would cover the topic and I could say, oh yeah, I want a question about that. I want a question about that. Let me edit it. And so it still took time. I think over time, it will reduce my time as I get more used to putting the right resources in. Because I also have learned that if I wanted to create something, what I put in matters so much. Like if I put in, I tried putting in a few slides just to see what would happen. The questions were horrible. They just was not enough information on the slides. I tried putting in a few pages of a text I wanted them to read, and the questions were pretty decent. And again, I had to edit them. They weren't exactly what I wanted, but it gave me like, okay, there's a multiple choice I can work with. And kind of went through and made some edits. And the one thing that I did have to learn was how I put it in mattered. I did have to add it as I had to create, and then I had to create a document. And then when I added the content, so whatever content I wanted, then it would auto generate from that content that I put in. And so this is where I could add an attachment, I could add text, and whatever I added there, that's where it created the questions from. The issue that I am running into, and you saw this a little bit today, is sometimes it seems to go beyond what's in there. So like when I had that syllabus, those questions were coming from beyond the syllabus. So I'm trying to figure out exactly, I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing there, that it's still related to the class. Like all the questions were language questions, but I'm not sure why it's generating questions from other content, which depending on what I'm putting together isn't the worst thing, but those were not just syllabus questions. So that's a new one to try to sort out. So generally it's fun. It's easier than giving a book to my GA and saying, hey, write some questions for me, because I'm gonna have to edit those too. I mean, they come up with some good ones, but they also don't always have exactly what I need. So it gets me thinking, it gets the process going, and I think over time it will save me time as I build some question banks and have some variety. But it's going to take some more work to figure it out. So that's basically been my experience, and I'd say mostly it's fun and intriguing to play with, but you can go down a rabbit hole.
And I just want to talk about time for a second. It does, well, for me, it didn't save me time when I was building a course, but it allowed me to build a better course. Because it did all of the, I'll call it grunt work with creating the module. So I didn't have to struggle with, I used to spend a lot of time trying to come up with proper images, trying to, and just building the basic modules. But now it does that. If you give it, now I'll share my screen for half a second if I can find a course. Hopefully I can find a course somewhere. Okay, so this is a course I created for last semester. And I will tell you, it is a pretty course from my point of view. The images here, everything. Did I have to change the descriptions of the modules? Some of them. Did I have to change what the actual modules were called and some of the images? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it came out as a really clean, easy to navigate course that I could then work with. The key to me in doing this is the more specific you are in the prompts that you give the AI, the more closely it will give you what you are hoping to see. And at that point, I guess I liken this to when you get a paper from a student, and there are many times that the paper is so poorly written, you don't know where to start in terms of how you're going to critique it. But the better it is, the easier you can critique it. And you say, oh, this is clear. Now I know this is wrong and this is wrong. And so when you get to, if you ask it the right questions for the prompts, you will much more easily see what you have to do next in terms of, oh, I can fix this, I can fix this, I can fix this. And then it allows you to really dig in and build nicely organized courses that allow you to then put the course together.
All right. Any questions so far? Everyone's pretty good.
I guess I got one question. So as Carmen was kind of walking through there, it will create questions based on content that is available in a module. So let's say you have one module and you upload 5 pieces of content. Is there a way to select, hey, I want questions derived from these 5 content pieces, and I want them to align with the certain course learning objectives or course learning outcomes? Is there a way to align those through auto generation?
Not currently.
Okay.
I will say, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, it's the next thing that coming down the pike in, I think they said April, is going to be the ability, if you have, and this is not exactly what you're talking about, is getting closer. If you have specific content that you want to be on a page and that aligns with a specific objective, and you put a detailed paragraph in and click generate, it will then generate a whole page with additional activities, videos, other things that relate to the content that you've put in. So you don't actually have to put in all the content and have it kind of coordinate and collate it. You're giving it the basics of what it is you want, and it will help you generate more related content, multimedia content, in order to further explore whatever the objective that you're looking to explore is. And then, of course, you can then build on that. And once it's all done, then you can auto-generate, and all of that material will be part of it. It will generate questions related to that. But that's, I think, April at this point. And we will keep everybody up on, because Blackboard keeps sneaking in tools. They've got discussion board generators now and a couple of other things that weren't there last month.
Yeah, I want to not overpromise what Blackboard will or will not roll out when. They are already advertising the discussion board prompts, which the way that it's advertised is you don't have to say what the content is necessarily. You would just pull it from the entire module. And that's not out yet. Maybe April. We will see. One of the more useful tools that I haven't really used the question bank generator that Carmen showed you all. That's very similar to the assignment creation. So you make a document, you give it some content, and it will make you an assignment, but it's very similar to that where it's creating new questions. The one that I want to spend some time showing you right now is the rubric, and then I'll go back to the image generator and then give you all some time to kind of play around in the space. But the rubric one, I think, is for me the one that I use the most. And I think it's one that you all will find useful as well. So within your module, if we go to create an assignment, and I'll just create an assignment. Actually, let me not do that. That's not what I want. I want a discussion board. All right. So this is my discussion too. I would give them some sort of prompt here, right? You'll obviously give more description in this, but once you hit the graded, so that it's going to be graded, it gives you the possibility to do a rubric. You can do this with other assignments, other assessments, but I think this one's particularly useful. So it'll pull in, it'll pull in, or you can generate or create. So you'll hit create, and it's going to show you basically the same setup that you saw for the create modules. The more description that you put in here, the better your criteria is going to be. So you might say that this is a graduate level course. Spell correctly. And I'm focusing on critical thinking. And good peer feedback. Again, I would suggest that you put better description than that, but just as a demo. You can change the percentage type. There is a little issue with the points range. I think Dr. Park could speak to that a little bit. I would suggest keeping it as a clear point differentiation or a percentage. Again, you can play with the complexity and then how many columns you want, how many rows you want. And then you just hit generate, and it'll regenerate that rubric once you've given it another description. So the feedback that I got on the rubric generation was specifically that it gave, if you've been using the same rubric or you've inherited a rubric, you may not have thought about some of these different pieces that it's going to provide you with. So I think in our opening ceremony, we kind of showed like, what is AI good for? What do people think it's good for? Idea generation is one of those, right? So you can see that it gave me that critical thinking that I asked for, that peer feedback as its own row, but then it also gave me discussion engagement and conceptual understanding. And that's just because I told it that I wanted 4 rows, right? If you know that you only want those 2 criteria, then you can probably just put 2 rows. But it might give you something and surprise you. So this is pretty useful. If you hit continue, you can edit it. as needed. But if you hit continue, this is where you would edit it. You can change whether or not you want to change the percentages. Maybe critical thinking is 50% of your rubric, etc. You save it, and then it can basically be pulled into every single one of your discussion boards across your courses. Again, only if they're in Ultra. But you can pull it in. So if you create a discussion board rubric that you really like, you can use it across all of your courses. So you would just find it, you would hit add, and then it's part of your discussion board, and you can see that it's here. When you go to grade your the discussion board post, it'll pull in that rubric again, and then you'll be able to click through those different criteria for the student, and they'll see why their grade is adjusted the way that it is. Any questions on rubric generation? All right, I'm going to really quickly, because we're actually coming up on time faster than I had thought, go back to where you would find the image generator. You can find it in different places, but for like a module, if I wanted to change this, it's the 3 dots on the module, hit edit. And then on the image, you can see that there's like a little, you can either delete it or there's a picture. You can upload it. You can do the stock images and you can generate an image. And again, that generation of the image is based off of whatever description you have for that module. So you kind of go through steps, like you would auto-generate your modules, hopefully edit them, then you can edit your images so that it matches, and then you might do your test creation or your test question creation, assignment creation, then add in your rubric. So they're kind of in order.
Magdalene, show them the splash stock images, because those are way less creepy.
Yeah, so like I said, I think the image generator is the worst tool, but the stock images are obviously pulled from other real images, and you might like one of these more. I'm going to do that one.
And these are all license free, so you don't have to worry about copyrights in using them.
Okay. So we have only 3 minutes left in this session. I'm really sorry about that. You have access to this course shell as instructor. So if you don't already have an Ultra course, feel free to play around in here. I'll go in and kind of delete these modules that I created, and we'll be sending out this video so that you can have it back as a resource. Again, there's this AI exploration community that I would really encourage you all to put some information in as you explore the tool. And I'll stop now so that you can have 2 minutes to explore in this space and ask any questions that we haven't already covered yet. All right, we have a question. If you use a rubric for grading, do you also have the option to add open-ended feedback? Yes. So you can still use the rubric, and it'll, like I generally do points. So it'll give you that points. You can change that point because maybe you take away points if they turn in their assignment late or something, and you can still provide feedback. I'll actually, I don't know if I can, I'm not going to show you where that is, but if you would like more information about that, I'm happy to show that to you in your own course. There are other tools coming out. We will communicate out what those tools are as they actually get published and show up on our production site. And one of a very useful feedback that I got from Bader was that he was hoping that the rubric for the discussion board would help him grade. So ideally, it would look over the discussion board posts that your students had and kind of like if they're making the same mistake, especially like he teaches math, so maybe they keep making a consistent mistake. He wanted that to kind of auto-populate in that open-ended feedback, right? So that you could tell the student, hey, you're not understanding oh gosh, it's been a while since I've taken math, you know, something, whatever it might be. And it doesn't do that yet. There are, I'm going to say whispers, because like I said, I don't want to oversell what Blackboard says that they can do, but basically, can it look at what students are saying and find patterns within the responses so that you can give kind of feedback across the course? It would be really useful, right? To be like, all right, none of you understand propositions, and I need you to understand that. So, you know, that's one way that AI might in the future be helpful for how we use it in Blackboard specifically. If there are other tools that you would like to see in this space, you can kind of see what it can do. I would encourage you to explore it, see what the limitations are, see how it benefits your workflow, and then give us feedback of what you would like. That would be helpful for us too, because maybe it's not a Blackboard AI tool that might help you, but maybe there's another tool that we could pursue. And we're definitely over time. So please give us feedback going forward. Please explore the tool. You can't really break the course, but, you know, do be careful since you do have instructor access.
Right. And if any of you want your own shells to play with, so that you're not, you know, in the crowd, let us know.
Magdalene, how long will we have that course for?
I won't delete it, so you should
Okay.
have it for as long as,
Sometime.
yeah, we're
Okay.
going to do an archive of 2024 courses.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.